We will be starting in a few moments. So may I request everyone to please settle down. So ayan. So I think most of the seats are filled dun sa bandang likod. Again, before we start, there's coffee at the back. Okay po. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Randall. I will be your host for today. For today's ambag, for this month's ambag. So I would maybe like to ask, bakit kayo nandito? You could be spending time somewhere else. Maybe, anto, pagod kayo today or it's already a Friday, di ba? So, ba't kayo nandito? Those online, pwede naman kayo mag-games or di ba? Doom scrolling. Pero, why are you here? Uh, well, we're trying to reach out, MO, as a scientific research institution. We're hoping that we can reach out to more people through this form of lectures, a more casual approach than a formal lecture in a classroom or in a large seminar, diba? So hopefully you find something interesting, something of interest to you, and when you go home later, you take something with you, and then hopefully you'll come back for more because we have a series of these lectures in this year because of our 160th anniversary. Uh, so to start off, I'd like to introduce this series of lectures, which is called Ambag, or we call it Ambag, short for Agham sa Banig. It is a very casual, laid back way of trying to show the science of MO, but in this case, science in general. When for our theme this year, we are trying to have conversations on science, service, and society for our 160th anniversary. So this is actually the third ambag or the third lecture. Last April 25, we started the lecture series with the first session featuring environmental planner Alex Zar Masiglat of and he's a program manager from the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, where he discussed the crucial role of the private sector in building climate resilience. Nung May 23 naman, we had Ms. Cato Sarmiento, who is the partnerships manager from the Oscar M. Lopez Center, who emphasized well, she brought out she discussed these short films and documentaries like Mga Kwento ng Klima, a 60-minute film that showcases how storytelling and filmmaking can be powerful tools in promoting climate awareness and resilience among the broader public. So today, we're having the third session of our anniversary lecture series. So may I call on Dr. Joel Makiling, the laboratory head of the Geodynamics Research Laboratory, to give his opening remarks and to welcome our speaker for today's ambag.
Father, sabi ko kay Randall, patawa, dapat ikaw ang welcome remarks eh. Intro lang ako nung guest. Anyway, so, good afternoon everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be giving this introductory speech about our speaker. My first encounter with our speaker happened to be part of the science education program with the Ateneo. Part po siya sa mga nagtuturo ng science education. Or advisor, famous advisor panelist for disasters. Anything about disaster science and resilience, it's Dr. Rene Claveria who's actually given that ominous task, so to speak, in science education. And then I know Sir Rene to be a geologist. That's from what I've read about him before. But it was an encounter with a science education project in Georgia. That's the country near Russia, hindi yung Georgia sa Amerika. So Georgia near Russia. So he took with him ang kanyang pamosong esposo. I'd like to introduce to you also the wife of Dr. Claveria, Ma'am Dina Claveria is there. Very supportive wife. And yung anak po niya na bunso, nandun din siya. Yun sila, very supportive. Dr. Clavera is an assistant professor of the Environmental Science Department. Very active in environmental and sustainability concerns because his major expertise actually is in economic geology. Recitation tayo. Na alam niyo kung ano economic geology? Parang medyo kakaiba, no? It's about materials actually and gaining resources which are of value to the economy. In simple terms, yun ang ibig sabihin ng economic geology. That's his PhD from the University of the Philippines. His specialization is in economic geology. His major research interests are in mineral exploration. Mga favorite ko as a geophysicist sana, kung naging geologist ako. In microscopy, for example, in mining. But I want to stress the fact that his work is actually more towards the environmental, sustainably meaningful use of resources and getting back those resources. Kaya yung concentration ng work niya ngayon is in phytomining, using plants to be able to extract and remediate those metals that we have used up in the environment, in our technology, to be able to get them back. I'd like to also say that the experience in Georgia was also wonderful because I saw how nice a husband Sir Rene is to Ma'am Dina. Because after that, after Georgia, kaming lahat pauwi na. Silang dalawa papunta ng Cappadocia sa Turkey. O diba? Hindi lahat Cappadocia kayo talaga. Pag-pronounce natin, hinanap ko pa pag-pronounce ng Cappadocia, sir. Hindi pala Cappadocia. Cappadocia pala talaga siya. Okay. Dr. De Los Santos, the Associate Chair of the Physics Department, was also with us in that particular trip. I'm very honored to be presenting this to you kasi I think Sir would be able to give you a lot of contribution in terms of what he's doing for rare earth metals or rare elements, no? Remediation, so to speak, ng phytomining, etc. And I think that's a very important part. Up to now, Sir is considered post-retiree siya ng Ateneo. That means he's actually he wanted to retire, pero ayaw siguro ng Ateneo siya pa-retire din. So he's still part of the Environmental Science Department. Ma'am Dina, behind the success of every man is an important woman to support Sir Rene. Ma'am Dina was the former executive vice president and chief operating officer of SunTrust Properties. It's a subsidiary of Mega World Corporation. Actually, they have this ultimate goal of giving homes which are environmentally sustainable to all Filipinos. So hand in hand yung kanilang partnership, di ba? May geologists na environmentally sound and sustainable yung mga projects, and sila Ma'am Dina naman for the housing opportunities for Filipinos. So I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Rene Juna Claveria, our speaker.
Magandang hapon ho sa lahat. Magandang hapon, Father Jet. Thank you very much, Joel, for that nice introduction and also including my wife. Anyway, I'm presenting something quite new to, I think, to most of you, which is actually on rare earth elements. Siguro kayo, you might be working on the environment or on something like on weather, maybe climate, or the physics behind everything. But actually, I'll be providing you some information about something of a resource, which I think we tend to forget. A resource that actually we can get value from. And maybe as an introduction to that, we might have other studies or other research work that deals with it. So I would like to first to congratulate MO for this MO or Manila Observatory at 160. And thank you also for the for the invitation that I'll be the resource speaker for today. Uh, I will be reading through my presentation. Pasensya na, but I have to allot the time given to me. So we'll have a number of conversations later on, just in case you have a lot of questions to ask. Okay, maybe I'll start with the first slide. Okay, I think you have known most of these top stories. You are actually knowledgeable on what is happening globally, particularly on trade, with consequently led, which actually consequently led to economic uncertainty among different countries. One critical product in the trade war is rare earth elements. There are a number of countries that have potential resources of rare earth elements, but it is only China that has the capacity to process them. We might ask a simple question. Ano ba meron sa rare earth elements? Okay. Rare earth elements are the ingredients to modern technology. From communication to environment, these elements are considered critical, particularly in the manufacture of smartphones, electric vehicles, wind turbines, semiconductors, nuclear reactors, aircraft navigation guidance system, and others. In essence, without these elements, the high technology products would more likely non-existent. Apparently, for now, there are no alternatives to rare earth elements. Rare earth elements are relatively unknown elements to most of us. I myself cannot even pronounce properly some of the names of these rare earth elements. In a number of readings, I commonly encounter elements like lanthanum, cerium, neodymium, dysprosium, yttrium, scandium, and a lot. As for this initial study, it is easier for me to group them by their atomic number as light rare earth elements and as heavy rare earth elements or just simple REEs. In this presentation, I will share with you the results of a study on REEs focusing primarily on the occurrence in alkaline-hosted copper-gold molybdenum deposits in the Philippines. We might get a bit technical, but apparently during the conversation, we can get to answer most of your questions. I will not discuss in detail all about REEs, about their geochemistry and utilization. Instead, I will focus on the specific occurrences of REEs in copper-gold deposits, presenting their trends, abundances, and associations which have never been done before. Included are the estimation of potential resources and their environmental impacts. Geological surveys during the 1970s to 80s have already identified potential areas of REEs in the Philippines. Most of these are in Palawan. Their occurrences are mostly as placer deposits, which are products of weathering of granitic continental rocks, possibly containing REEs, and apparently are more specifically found in Palawan and nowhere else in the country. The paper of Gibaga et al. 2022 is the most recent publication on the exploration potential of REs in the Philippines. There were no other publications made after this. One area of interest is the occurrence of REE, specifically scandium, in nickeliferous laterite mines in the Philippines. The country is a major exporter of raw nickelferous laterite, as we do not have processing plants for nickel and other byproducts. Unfortunately, exporting raw laterites does not give us the benefit of value adding in the acquisition of scandium. So, ibig sabihin, ang nagpa-process niyan ay China, sa kanila na yung scandium. Interesting topic, but I will not discuss this type of REE occurrence. My presentation will focus on the potential occurrences of REEs in copper, gold, molybdenum mines in the Philippines. Pwede natin itanong, sa dami ng minahang gold at copper, meron kayang REE na kasama bilang byproduct? There are investment indicators that by 2035, REEs would be one of the most sought after elements, equating that of gold. The two copper gold molybdenum mines I will be discussing are the Didipio and the Runruno mines in Nueva Vizcaya. Based on crustal abundances, sorry, medyo maliit yung font. Based on crustal abundances, the REEs found in Didipio and Runruno, copper gold ores, and host rocks do not show significant differences of REE values among other rocks found elsewhere. Kung pupunta kayo sa China, sa US na may REEs, katumbas lang yung REEs na nakikita natin sa Didipio and Runruno. Such abundance differ from the very few occurrences of REEs in the copper-gold deposit in other places like Lepanto in Benguet. It shows a very significant difference of REE values between those found in Nueva Vizcaya as compared to those found in Benguet. Okay, why? The geological setup of the Didipio and Runruno is apparently similar because they are found in one geological place. The rocks are hosted by what we classify as alkaline rocks. Okay, this might be new to most of you. These are different rocks from what we call the calc-alkaline. Medyo bago ulit. Rocks that host the mineralization of Lepanto Benguet. So the difference in rock type also differs their amount of REEs. The calc-alkaline rocks hosting the Lepanto deposit commonly manifest very low REEs. The geochemistry of representative samples from the Didipio and Runruno fit very well to the alkaline rocks identified as syenite, monzonite, and granite. These are the different types of alkaline rocks. Okay, let's look deeper into the analysis of these rocks. Under the microscope, the rocks are composed of silicate minerals such as plagioclase, K-feldspar, biotite, cerisite alteration, and others. If you have taken mineralogy in college, maybe you would recall most of these elements. Also under the microscope, the ore minerals identified in the copper-gold deposits are bornite, chalcopyrite, magnetite, hematite, and gold electrum, and others. So yan ang nakikita natin under the microscope, ang mga rocks and minerals sa Didipio and Runruno. REEs apparently have affinities to certain silicate and ore minerals. Most of these minerals have considerable amounts of iron in their chemical composition. So yung nabanggit kong minerals a while ago, a few of them could have iron content. This is shown in the very good correlation between REEs and iron. It is likely that there are specific minerals that are enriched with REEs, generally through ionic substitution. It is interpreted that if iron-bearing minerals such as biotite, chlorite, pyroxene, pyrite, chalcopyrite, magnetite are all enriched with REEs. In particular, are the heavy rare earth elements. Let's look into the different uh, samples we got from the different mines in Nueva Vizcaya. In the Didipio copper gold deposit, and among the different host rocks of mineralization, the Bugoy, they call this a rock formation, Bugoy. Bugoy breccia pegmatite exhibits the highest total RE values, followed by the monzonite host rocks. The breccia pegmatite rocks are actually the main host rock to the copper gold deposit that is being mined. The lower RE values of the other rocks, simple like monzondiorite, monzonite, cyanite, apparently show no significant difference. They are relatively low as compared to Bugoy breccia pegmatite. It is initially interpreted that the copper gold mineralization has strongly influenced the occurrence of REEs. In Runruno, gold molybdenum deposit, the mean or the average of the total REE values for each of the different host rocks appear to be the same and statistically do not show any significant difference. In essence, there is no specific host rock that exhibits high values of REEs. It is interpreted that the occurrence of REEs are not affected or influenced by the presence of the copper molybdenum deposit. So sa tingin natin, magkaiba itong dalawang deposit. One has higher amounts of REEs and the other apparently has the same amount but are not influenced by the mineralization in the areas. In the analysis of copper and gold enriched samples, the RE values appear considerably higher than the copper, gold, and molybdenum deposit. Mas mataas pa sila sa values of copper, gold, and molybdenum. The REs do not show significant differences among samples categorized either as low, high, low, or medium-high copper, gold, or molybdenum. If you classify your copper, gold, molybdenum as low, medium, high, the REs doesn't correlate to that. It is always high to all of these low, medium, high metals. It is interpreted that the REs are potential byproducts in the extraction and milling of copper, gold, and molybdenum ores. So, i-process natin sila, yung metals, may makukuha tayong REs. In mill processing, the copper, gold, molybdenum ores, particularly by flotation, it is noted that the RE values are significantly higher in the tails than in the concentrates. If you have to mill the ores, the milling process will separate the metal concentrates and the waste, which we call tails. So mas mataas ang REs sa tails. It is noted that specifically that the light rare earth elements are more abundant in the tails than in the concentrates. It is interpreted that the light rare earth elements have greater affinity with the silicates. Kasi yung waste are composed predominantly of silicates. And the heavy rare earth elements are more related to the metals. So ang concentrates would have higher HREEs than the tails. However, the light rare earth elements would have higher amounts sa tails as compared to the concentrates. Okay, we did another study looking into the distribution of REEs in a drill core profile. So what we did was we drill a core, we drill a hole down at certain depth, and we analyze each of this horizon of the drill core. It is noted that with increasing depth, the REE values apparently decrease. The profile includes the soil horizon down to bedrock at depth. It is interpreted that the REEs tend to cluster or accumulate in the soil during weathering processes of the bedrock. Something new. These occurrences is well documented in other places. Apparently, that this rare earth element enriched soils has been classified in most of studies as ion absorption REE deposits. If I recall my readings, most of the RE deposits in China are of this kind of deposit. They are found in the soil, not on the rock. This could be another area of study and a possible potential resource for REEs. Okay, another area of interest is the significantly high values of radionuclides, such as uranium and thorium, in samples with considerably high REE values. Mukhang kung mataas ang REE, mataas din yung uranium, thorium. It is interpreted that uranium, thorium have a very close association with REEs. Their occurrence would be potential byproducts in the RE enrichment of the copper-gold deposit. So, hindi naman siguro sing laki ng deposits of uranium, but apparently as a byproduct, we can get a bit of uranium thorium from those processed or extracted copper ores. Let's go to resource. The estimated RE resource in the DDPU copper-gold deposit is about 1 billion tons of REE with an average grade of 145.88 parts per million. Napakalaki yata. 1 billion tons. The computation is based on the copper outline with grades ranging from 0.2% to greater than 5% copper. The computation was based on the ore model they made using those 0.2 to greater than 5% copper. So, yun lang ang kinuha kong boundary for ore calculation. This is on the perception that the occurrence of REEs are strongly influenced by the copper-gold mineralization. Higher RE values of about 236.52 ppm are those found in the mine area itself. If I look at that, the DDPU mine have higher RE values with approximate tonnage of about 350,000 tons. Let's estimate some of the resources at Runruno. The estimated RE resource in Runruno is about 5 million tons. Mas malaki pa kaysa, kaysa DDPO, with an average grade of 129.91 ppm, which is lower. The computation is based on drill core data. I do not have much of the mining information from the mining area to provide me more of the approximate boundaries of their ore. And this is inferred in blocks with considerably high REE values and of which are host to mineralization. So, ang ginawa ko, in-estimate ko na lang from the host rock which could be inferred as the host to mineralization. In general, the large tonnage and low-grade values of REEs in both the Dipio and Runruno may not be feasible for mining. This is significantly true with reference to the definition of REEs. REEs, by occurrence, are not rare and appear to be widely distributed in different rock types. There are REEs that have higher abundances in the Earth's crust as compared to other known minerals such as lead, zinc, gold, mercury, molybdenum, and other metals. They are considered rare as they do not occur in anomalous amounts to be extracted. With respect to environmental implications, one important consideration is the close affinity of REEs with the occurrence of uranium and thorium. We are all aware that elevated amounts of uranium and thorium may induce health problems. It is noted that uranium and thorium values are significantly high in the tails than in the concentrates. The mill residue as tails are normally impounded in what we call tailings pond. There have been historical environmental disasters related to tails spilling over aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. The extraction of REEs is similar to mining for copper and gold. The irony exists that in acquiring REEs for green technology, there is a need to destroy what is meant to be preserved. There has been a number of REE mine closures, for example, in the US, due to their failure to comply with environmental regulations. In summary, REEs indeed occur in alkaline-hosted copper-gold deposits. So that's one finding. The presence of REEs as byproduct, though not in anomalous amounts, could provide value-adding to the extracted and processed mineral ores. And third, the associated trace elements to REEs may have some negative environmental impacts. I will end with that. I would like to thank DOST PSERD for providing the funds for this study. I know this is just an initial study and there are a lot of questions to be answered. I would like to acknowledge my collaborators and stakeholders who have given support in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rene, Dr. Claveria. May I ask you to please have a seat? Sit on our couch, and also Dr. Joel on the opposite side. Welcome to the talk show. Welcome to the talk show portion of this of this lecture. We will now be opening the floor to questions. Uh, yes, Doc. So, Doc Jun.
Tas si Doc
Okay,
Judy.
dapat conversation na to. Hindi na yung formal lecture or I I am aware na may mga terms na siguro hindi nyo alam or whatever. A bit technical, but if you ask that question, I will explain it the best I can so you will understand.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Rene, for that very impressive talk. Actually, while you were talking earlier, many of the names are familiar, but admittedly, most of it I already forgot. Nakalimutan ko na yung chemistry ko. Baka nandito yung prof ko. Um, Question lang po about dun sa, sige, I'm trying to understand yung difference between the light and the heavy REEs. And is it just because of the weight or mass niya? Or are there differences in terms of its value for, say, as a I guess a resource for um, whatever technology we're using right now that uses that? Or yun po yung isa. And then the other one is, um, you mentioned that we are not capable of, or there are only some countries, or actually China, you mentioned, is one of the countries that is capable of processing these rare earth elements. Bakit po hindi tayo capable, I mean, in terms of the technology, is it really that difficult or is it costly? I mean, I guess two things. Is it really difficult to have that technology, or the technology is very costly and therefore there are no investments even from other countries to yeah, have that processing capabilities?
Yeah, thank you very much for the two questions. I'll answer the first question about light rare earth elements and heavy rare earth. Maybe can I have the I will go back to a slide. Here. So yung red color or pink are the heavy. Then the blue ones are the light. So it is based on atomic number and the mass of the element. In relation to their occurrences, they differ as to their association or affinity. They have the heavies are more have a more association or have association with the metals. Metals siya nag-associate. One, if I go back, yan ang mga metals. Yan, the bornite, chalcopyrite, pyrite, and so on. Apparently, the ore minerals are very enriched with iron. So the iron actually have a connection with REs by ionic substitution. I'm not so familiar with the chemistry. So I think I will have to ask a chemistry to give me the real what we call the real occurrence of these REs as they are, their atomic number and so on. But apparently, this is the affinity of heavy. Now, if you want the light rare earths, these are the other metal or the other minerals which we call silicates naman. They are a composition of SiO4. The silicates are not metals, so more likely. But if you look into the composition of the silicates, if I move forward, sorry. if you look into these silicates, the bottom left figure, uh, you can see certain minerals like pyroxene, biotite, and some chalcopyrite as well, which have higher amounts of REEs. So I don't know why. So maybe I have to do a further research on why such affinity of these light rare earth elements to silicates and the heavy rare earth elements to metals. I think I need to do more work on that. Now, the second question is, I think China has invested a lot of money through the years. No? Panahon pa yata ni Deng Xiaoping. They already have this foresight na ang gagawin nila ay rare earth elements. They can process it because it is a very tedious, difficult process of separating all of those elements, yung lanthanum, cerium, and so on. Kasi yung bawat elements na yan, magagamit mo sa electronics. Mostly are the kagaya ng dysprosium. They are use it for magnetics. So kung hindi mo ma-separate yon, parang silbi yung REEs mo. Kahit madami ka, kailangan mo pa rin i-separate yung element na yan. Kaya gagamitin mo sa magnetics. For example lang. Now, the United States apparently did not go or push through with this. Through the years, China has been improving the process of the method of processing, and they apparently have perfected it in a way that China is the only one who can sell those elements in pure form. Ngayon, itong US, wala na, or other countries. They rely on China for these certain elements. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng trade war. Ang gusto ng China, kami, kung ibibigay namin sa'yo, sa other countries, mahal yan. So, yun ang ginagamit nila as a leverage para panalo sila. So, walang magagawa rin ng US or other countries. They have to abide to what China would be putting in. So, yun lang siguro, I think the foresight of China since the time of very long ago has already given fruit in a way that they are the only country that can process REEs.
Surprised po na it's not even Japan or Korea. Kasi when we went to Davao Oriental, a long time ago, panahon pa ni Gemma, we go to see that people, during storm surges and typhoons, merong mga black sand sa coast ng Davao eh. Ginagawa ng mga kababayan natin, tinanong namin, anong ginagawa nyo? Every night daw, dumadating yung mga Japanese ships and Korean ships, binibenta nila na 50 pesos per kilo yung black sand. And black sand, for the audience, is the itim na sand na may shiny material siya that's supposed to be returned back to di ba sir? To the coastal areas to make them more stable. So, ang tanong ko, yung technology na sinasabi nyo, gusto ko sanang sumikinig kay Doc Julie, may mga chemicals na hinahalo sila to be able to separate these particles. Yeah. Tapos wala tayong ganun eh. Sila talaga sila. Kaya lang sir, paano natin magbibigay sa mga tao kaya through some kind of education or awareness program that these are important to us and then kasi importante na hindi natin ibenta lang basta ng ibenta, di ba? Like what our brethren in the southern Philippines are doing. How do we have a program like that in the DNR or in the whatever institute in the government or as far as you know?
Okay, very good point, Joel. Yung nabanggit ni Joel about black sand. Black sand is actually a mineral called magnetite. Magnetite is iron oxide. Iron has an affinity with rare earth elements. So kinukuha nila yan para i-process nila for a possible certain amounts of certain REEs. Kaya kinokolekta na. Actually, the black sand was first discovered sa Palawan to contain some REE. So, ang ginagawa ngayon ng exploration is that they go to all parts of the country and look for black sand. Dredge nila yan, hoping na mayroong amount or laman. Mayroong laman ng REEs. So, yun. People might be asking, bakit nyo minimina yan? Dapat nga, sabi nga ni Joel, wag nyong galawin kasi unstable yung slope mo kapag minina. They mine it with dredgers, yung malalaki. And makikita mo yung slope ng coastal na iba na. So, actually, we have to regulate this. I don't know the programs of DNR or local government units on how to regulate this. But I think we need to do something about regulating the dredging or the excavation of black sand along coastal areas. The other question was the chemicals. Yeah. Actually, to be honest, hindi ko alam kung paano ginagawa ng China. Sikreto yan eh. I think they have a secret weapon for that eh. They will not reveal how they do it. But they've perfected it. Yan ang issue dyan. Siguro the United States or other countries who have a good research background could be following it up. No? Pero imagine you can separate all the elements individually. That's something that is quite unique in China. May tanong ka pa, isa?
Na-absent-minded na ako, sir. Nalito na ako. Sila na lang, audience na muna.
May isa ka pa tanong.
Regulation ng government.
Yan. Yung regulation. I don't know about the regulating.
Kasi doon, natatawa kami, tinatanong namin, pinapayagan ng LGU lang. So, kami naman po nagbebenta eh. Marami nga kami kinikita kasi 50 pesos per kilo.
Yes.
Naubos, nakakabenta na ng 50 pesos. So si Gemma, nagpanic. Sabi ni Gemma, naku kuya, ganyan. She calls me kuya. Sabi niya, dapat may gawin tayo. So, okay, dapat yata may government muna. Tsaka that's something, gusto ko itanong, sir, sabi niyo kanina, di ba yung mga cellphone namin, mga laptops, etc., meron mga rare earth element siya.
That's correct.
So, may lifespan yung aming mga laptop at mga cellphone. Pag nasira siya, after hand-me-down to your brother, to your pamangkin, etc., itatapon siya eventually.
Yes.
And then one of your research interests is actually getting back these precious metals. Can we return them back to Earth? But we won't be able to get them back 100%. So, what's gonna happen to all of these used gadgets? Parang mahirap pa yun.
Actually, yung ginagawa ngayon, di ba, meron tayong gold mining sa... you get gold from computers, yung mga tinatapon. Kasi may gold component yan eh. I forgot the term. But anyway, kapag you pile up all your waste sa mga laptops, cellphones, and so on, kaya nilang kunin yung gold component dyan. Actually, there are already work on that. Ang hindi ko lang alam how they would extract the REEs. But actually, the REEs there are already in magnetics. Nasa magnetics yan, particularly sa cellphone natin or sa EUV, tawag sa electric vehicles and wind turbines. They are normally run by magnetics. So, nandun siguro yung REEs. I recall now, to answer one more question. What we are going to do is that yung mga minerals natin or the one we export. Nag-export tayo ng copper, export tayo gold, export tayo ng nickel. But we export them probably less processed. Kasi wala tayong smelting dito eh. Ibig sabihin, there are certain byproducts sa metals na yan na binibigay natin na walang value. Pero kung lalagyan mo ng value, tataas yung amount na babayaran nila supposedly sa atin. So, ibebenta mo siya ng kunwari 10 pesos. Kasama na doon yung mga byproducts, yung kagaya ng rare earth elements or other valuable elements na doon. So binili nila ng mura. Kung process nila yon, kukunin na nila yung valuable byproducts. So wala na sa atin yan. Now, if we only know how much byproduct there is for each of these metals we export, I think we can ask for more, what we call this, compensation as to how much we are going to sell those materials. Dadagdag yon. Although sabihin na natin sa inyo na yan, pero we get the money of like selling it that has actually of value. Ang tawag namin dyan is value adding. You add value to the resources you sell. So you put in money there. Kung hindi mo ma-process, fine. Sila nang bahala dyan. But I will sell it to you na may value ng byproduct. That could be a good economic, something like economic thing to do also. Aside from regulating.
Nagtawag yan. Doc Ninyo, you have a question? Tinawag si Doc Ninyo.
First, thank you, Dr. Claveria, for your talk. I'd just like to ask a few questions. Well, first of all, forgive my ignorance, but can you please talk about the current state of REE mining in the Philippines? And like, is it a underdeveloped industry? Is it a growing industry? Like, what is it like? And for the second question is like, based on this current state, what are specifically changes that you personally would like to see for the industry, or what changes would you like to see happen? And lastly, you mentioned about how there have been attempts to mine REEs, like in the US, wherein it has resulted in lots of environmental impact, and there are health effects as well to the workers through the tailed ponds. And so, would you think that this is something that our government should continue to pursue, or do the essentially harmful effects outweigh the benefits?
Okay, thank you. I'll try to recall the three questions. So maybe you guide me through just in case I forget those questions. Actually, I can't recall the first one. The current state of mining
RE mining in the
REs. Okay. There's this one slide I would like to go back. This one. This is a well-known deposit here in the Philippines, wherein apparently they have they have discovered that they are very rich in scandium. This is a rare earth elements. But I think it doesn't belong to both the light and the heavies. But actually, this is a rare earth element, scandium, wherein you can actually what we call this, you can actually estimate how much there is scandium in a deposit. So it is well studied. And actually, if you would go over the entire Philippines, there are a lot of these nickeliferous laterite deposits in the Philippines. We have in Zambales, we have in Surigao, in Mindanao, in southern Mindanao, in Palawan. There are a lot of these nickeliferous laterite that might have REs, and we are just exporting them as raw. We are not processing the soil. The soil itself is the one being exported. So kung nanghumukay ka sa lupa, binigay mo yung materials, including the soil, may butas ka na. So you cannot fill up that one kasi wala na, ubos na. So ganun ang ginagawa natin. And we should actually regulate this at one point. What I think at a certain studies have shown that they are already putting some value on this scandium. Nauuna yan ng mga Japanese. They are actually helping a lot of these mining companies to process nickeliferous laterite, particularly those very high in scandium. And I think we are doing something on this. But if you are relating that to copper, gold, molybdenum deposit, wala pa. There's no other studies done on how we can put value adding to all of these metals we mine in this numerous amount of copper gold mines here in the Philippines. So I think we need to do some inventory on certain ores that are exported in a way that you find how much REs possibly are in those metals. So sayang naman yan kapag hindi mo lagyan ng value adding amount para mabayaran ka for that. Okay, but I apologize again about the second question.
Your second question po, what would you like personally to see the government or like changes you'd like to see in the industry po?
Oh yeah. Actually, this study I'm doing is just a first step of what the government needs to do. Wala pa talagang ginagawang study on REs dito sa Pilipinas. It's unfortunate na. Makita natin sa other countries like Vietnam have a lot of REs pala. Hindi ko alam na meron pala silang REs dyan. So, if you talk about trade wars, malaki bagay ito. Pwede mong soloin to kapag meron ka. The thing about REs lang is that I have defined it, are not rare. Okay, rare earth elements are not rare. They are only, they do not occur in anomalous amounts. Kanyari, hindi sila nag-accumulate in a certain area para minahin. Kalat sila. So, they're actually immobile elements. Kagaya ng mga large ion lithophile elements, yung high field strength elements. Ito yung mga elements na immobile. Hindi sila gumagalaw. Unless there are certain natural events that makes them accumulate or mobile at some point. Sa akin, ang gusto ko sana mangyari is that we do a lot of further studies on this, particularly on certain minerals we have here in the Philippines. Siguro gusto ko sana lahat ng minahan ay magkaroon ng inventory for REs or other related trace elements. Hindi lang necessary for copper and gold. Siguro kahit na mga limestone or other types of rocks, maybe even a very small amount, we can get an inventory of this. If we have a list of deposits and their amounts of REs, I think that would be a big help for the economy. And the last question is...
Yung ano po, do you think that despite the health effects and yung environmental effects, should we still continue to pursue RE?
Actually, that's one thing that dapat tignan din natin. I was so particular with uranium and thorium. Yeah. Thorium and uranium are very high. Mayroon bang iba to? Dapat lagyan na ng REE para ito kasi may REE na yan eh. Anyway, I'll go back to that.
Sige, sir. Gusto mo ituro daw dyan?
Huh? Yeah, ako na.
Siya na lang.
Ito yung high field strength elements associated sa REEs. These are different high field strength elements. And this is thorium, and this is uranium. So these are normalized values, which I get from the samples I analyzed. So you can see here, this is thorium. It's relatively high. Well, by amounts, it could be about a bit to 100. Then if you relate that to uranium, it's also the same. But the other trace elements are relatively small. That is for the DPO. Now, if I go to the other deposit, it's the same. It looks like this uranium and thorium are considerably high, except for tungsten. Apparently, itong red at saka blue ay the products kasi yan, the milling products. In both cases, itong red, these are the processed, ilalagay nila sa tails and so on. Mataas pa rin yung thorium and uranium. Similarly with this, yung red at saka blue. So, using this as a reference, I was speculating kung itatapon mo, kung itatapon mo to sa tailings pond, pupunta sila sa tailings pond. These are immobile. So, kapag karoon ng disaster na mag-spill over, pupunta yan sa ilog. And yung mga uranium, thorium are soluble at some point in water. So, magkakaroon sila ng problem dyan. Anyway, we need to regulate one of these problems.
Sir, backup.
Sir, nandyan na tayo sa slide na yan, kaya dyan na ako magtatanong. Dalawang tanong, sir. So, 2 sites, tama pa, Didipio tsaka Runruno. Okay, basic question, sir. Yung samples nyo, rock, mill, flotation, tsaka CIL. Unang tanong po, ano po yun? Yung mill, flotation, tsaka yung rock ba to, di ba? So, ganon, di ba? Tapos pangalawang tanong, sir, is pagkakuha ng sample, anong analytical technique? XRF? XRD? Ano po bang X-ray fluorescence? Ganun po bang ginagawa? So, may processing po bang ginagawa? Kunyari, pagkakuha ng bato, may ginagawa pa po ba kayo bago nyo i-run sa analytical technique ninyo? So, okay. Yun po.
Ito yung mahirap kapag ang nagtatanong ay scientist.
Akala ko po basic.
Baka hindi ko na masagot yung mga tanong mo eh.
Ay, sige po.
Mahirap eh. Anyway, yung black ay yung rock. So, what I do is, kukuha ko ng bato sa isang, hindi naman, kasi may minahan yan. Okay? So, kukuha lang ako ng bato somewhere, maybe random at some point. Or kukuha ko ng bato sa drill. Kung may butas na may drill core, kukuha ako doon. So, if I get about, let's say, 20 samples, then i-analyze ko yan. Diyan lalabas yan. So, yun ang mangyayari. So, meron siyang minimum, maximum, di ba, sa box plot. So, meron siyang mean also. Yan ay bato, yung itim. Ang red naman ay yung mill. Ibig sabihin, yung ore nila sa minahan, kumuha ko ng sample. Pinayagan naman ako, kukuha ko ng sample dyan. Kukuha ko ng sample, then ipapa-analyze ko rin for REEs. So, by flotation, yung mill na red ay yung galing sa mill process. So, kukuha ko doon, i-analyze ko. So, in both occasions, mukhang hindi naman nagbago yung amounts of REE. Isa ay normal as a rock, yung isa naman ay na-process as a concentrate for a tails. So, ibig sabihin parehas. Hindi nagbago. Ang iniisip ko kasi dati, kung nasa rock yan, mas mababa. Kasi ang mill, i-concentrate niya eh. Diba? Supposedly. Pero hindi eh. Mukhang parehas lang eh. So, sa tingin ko, most likely, the REs are nasa tails. Dito tayo, sa tails. Yung, ibig sabihin yung nasa silicates. Hindi sa metals. Mas mataas yung RE sa tails. Kaya, ang nakikita ko sa concentrate ay mukhang parehas lang sa bato. Pero kapag linagay mo sa tailings pond, tumataas yung REEs. So, ang inipon nila, siguro mas mababa. Ang tinatapon nila, mas mataas na REE. Dito naman sa Runruno, medyo complicated kasi yung processing nila. Dito, simpleng flotation lang. Flotation is that they get copper flotation, and the copper contains certain other byproducts and so on. Dito, they use other methods. They call it nandito yung isang estudyante ko si Cleo. Ano yung method na yan? Bioleaching. They use bacteria dito sa minahan dito. Kasi yung gold nila ay naka-encase sa pyrite. This is an iron sulfide. Yung gold nasa loob, hindi nila matanggal. So it's refractory. Kahit anong lagay mong anong lagay mong chemicals or whatever, hindi matatanggal. So ang ginagawa nila, naglalagay sila ng bacteria para kainin yung pyrite. It's a sulfur-eating bacteria yun. And maiiwan yung gold. So that's one of the process they do. So yun ang process nila, including flotation and CIL, carbon in pulp. Medyo ako nalilito rin ako sa process nila. Pero they get what they want to get. If they want gold or copper, they get it at optimal process. Anyway, if I have to compare flotation red and CIL blue, there's no difference as well as compared to the rock. So yung rock sample mo, has the same amounts of RE as what you process either by flotation or by CIL, yung carbon and pulp. Yung carbon and between flotation and CIL, nandun yung bio-leaching na sinasabi nila. So, nandito sa kita, supposedly. So, the other question was, how did I analyze this? Well, ang pondo kasi ng DOSTA, napakaliit. Hindi ako makabili ng more sophisticated process. Gumamit lang ako some at points as XRF and also some with ICP-MS. Most of this chemical analysis is used by ICP-MS. So mas accurate siya ng konti. Kasi yung detection limit ng ICP-MS ay mas mababa. So kaya niyang i-detect yung mga lower values of REs. Sagot ko ba?
This is defense. Dissertation defense.
Hi, sir. Sir, I just have one question. So, is there a possible intersect between your rare earth element research and your phytomining interest?
Yes, actually, I think I would invite you to join my. I intend to do a proposal. Okay, na-mention kanina ni Joel that I also have interest sa phytomining or phytoremediation. This is my advocacy kasi. Kung hindi natin mapigilan ng minahan, we put in regulations, of course. Ang problema sa minahan kasi, kung naubos na nila, iniiwanan na lang. So you create a legacy mines, ang tawag niyan. Naiwan, abandoned. Kung hindi mo bibigyan ng opportunity yung mining company to reforest, walang maiwan dyan. So that's my advocacy na sana man lang, I find a way for these mining companies to rehab before they leave. So one of that is phytoremediation, planting indigenous plants to abandoned areas to accumulate the metals. And the process of phytomining is that I'll take the metals from the plant and export that metal somewhere else. Di ba? Okay. Meron akong intent to do related limited to REEs because I was able to read a study also in China that apparently there are plants that can absorb REEs. And yung plant na yan, hindi ko alam yung kalimutan yung pangalan. Apparently, I found also in Didipio and Runruno. It's indigenous plant. Why in Runruno and Didipio? It is because the REEs in the soil, as I mentioned earlier, is also enriched with REEs brought about by the process of weathering of the bedrock sa ilalim. So kung wala kang REE dyan, well, okay lang. Pero there are certain plants that can absorb REEs. And nasa soil yun eh. So that can be an indicator of a possible source also of rehab, as a proposed program for rehab, for extraction, if there are sufficient amount of REEs in the plants. Pwede rin.
Sir, follow-up question dun sa kanilang mga policy. You said something about mining regulation. That's number one, di ba? There should be a mining regulation. Pwede bang isingit yung question ng what do you say about moratorium muna in certain mining activities? Katulad ng ginagawa ng Sweden. They say, after mining copper in this region in Sweden for 10 years, madideplete na natin yung minerals doon. We'll give it time to recover, to heal itself. So there will be a stoppage or a moratorium for mining in this community. Then we'll have, maybe we can find another alternative mining area. And then that makes it more sustainable. Yung tinatawag nilang green mining na tinatawag. So would that be possible as a solution to this issue, whether we should have still mining in the Philippines or none, or it's a long shot dream? I'm not sure.
Very contentious issue.
That's okay.
A moratorium, I think, has been discussed long before. I think there are some debates on if it is good or bad. I cannot totally give you a good answer, Joel, on that. I'm not anti-mining, if you would say. I also wanted to promote mining in a way that it should be sustainable. The term sustainable should always be there. To sustain, you are adding possible moratorium. I don't know. There are companies actually that are so greedy that actually they violate any regulation that is imposed by government. Kung pwede mo silang kasuhan natin. Pero it's quite a complicated issue on this. What we have to strengthen actually would be, although I think we did so much of this already, is regulation. I don't know of any other laws that can be imposed on this.
Issue kasi yung time ni Gina from yung sa DNR head, kasi everyone is against, she wanted a moratorium, but they really pounced on her that she's not fit to be the DNR head. So I was thinking, ay bakit yung leaders ng ibang countries, well, Nordic countries naman sila, they can do that. Kasi iba yung structure, sir, ng mga bato sa Europa, no? Sa Europe kasi mas maraming bato. Sa atin sa Pilipinas, maraming lupa. Ang joke nga nila, sir, sa Pilipinas daw, pag namatay ka na umulan, malalandslide, di ba? Tapos papasok ka kabilang part ng ilong mo, soil, sa kabilang part tubig. At least pag naglindol sa Europe, rockfall daw eh. So pag bagsakan ka ng bato, wala ka na time mag-emote.
Bato na.
Ganun na kagad. So anyway, inaisip ko, baka ganun yung reason ng iba yung kultura nila about sustainable mining eh. They always make it their top priority. That's why when I discussed with Father John, Father, may sustainable category ba ng mining? Parang naisip ko, baka meron eh. It's just that it's the value system ng isang bansa, ng mga tao, I suppose. That's really different. Because you can go to places like Sweden or Switzerland, may mga mining sila, pero di ba they're able to preserve the holistic, the cultural, the economic part of their country? Parang, I don't know, it's a tall order, sir. It's a tough question. Never mind. Change question.
Really a
Next
tough
question.
Maybe I can tell a story about where I had experience on this. Sharing ko na rin sa conversation naman tayo. Actually, I work in a mining company before. Siyempre, kailangan ko ng malaki yung sweldo. Nandun yun eh. So I worked for, I think, for 3 to 4 years sa isang mining company. The mining company was very good. So, may mga benefits din ako nakukuha aside from my salary. I also get at some point mga allowances, bonuses. Minsan may mga workers doon nakakaroon pala isang kaban na bigas every month and so on. So it was good. The deposit was a little bit big. They say it could last for about, let's say, about 10 to 15 years. Okay. I was there for 3 to 4 years. During my stay, paalis na ako, naubos yung 10 to 15 years supply, supposedly. What happened? Buti na lang umalis na ako. Otherwise, wala na akong sweldo, wala na akong bonus, and so on. Nagtanggalan siya na. There's something wrong on this type of companies. So I cannot tell everything, every mining company has this. No? But there are certain specific companies that are, I will call, tinuturo natin dito ay value, guys. Huwag kayong greedy. I think it was so greedy that inubos nila in 3 years, but has to be extracted in 10 to 15 years. I cannot explain why. Kaya pasensya na, Joel. Hindi ko talaga. But I want to share that kasi my wife knows this. Bigla na lang ako, uwi na ako, hindi na ako babalik. Anyway, I will look into that. I think Father Jet can also, no, I mean, say, I think Father Ateneo has been active sa mining. Any, I think Father Jet should give us a chance.
Hindi madaling tanong, di ba? Binanggit mo nga na when I was president, I remember we had a mining forum here, and I even met Tampakan executives in the boardroom, tried to facilitate dialogue. It was not easy, but ano bang gusto kong sabihin? I don't want to demonize mining. Because I think it's also possible. In fact, I was just in conversation last month with, well, he was a Jesuit volunteer, yes, his group, doing another kind of mining na parang laparoscopy. Di ba? Hindi surgery. Ano lang, targeted. Tapos hindi pababa, so may mga ganun na nangyayari. Mas mahal, syempre. Pag mas mahal, mas konti ang profit mo. Pero less damage, di ba? So I'm open to those things. I think we should still entertain those things. Pero tulad ng nuclear energy, sa tingin ko lang para sa atin, wala tayong competence. Wala pa. Hindi nga natin mapaandar yung trend natin eh. Nuclear power plant pa kaya, di ba? I remember kasi when I was in high school, I was very much attracted eh. Kasi the time Marcos was, di ba, 70s ito eh. They were, high school ako, they said, uy, may Bataan nuclear power plant, no? And we need engineers. And I remember high school, sabi ko, I might become a nuclear engineer. No? And PAEC, yung Philippine Atomic, yung parang itlog, di ba? So I was very much attracted to that and said, yeah, okay. Pero hindi science eh. Di ba? It's governance, it's politics, it's economics. Yun eh. We say regulation, dami na nating batas. It's governance really. It's political will. By governance, I just don't mean yung mga bossing, hindi lang yung barangay captain. Pati yung taong bayan. Kasi walang pakialam minsan yung mga tao. Di ba? And kung yung mayor, alam niya na walang pakialam yung mga tao, di okay lang sa kanya na maging masama. So kailangan nung ganun yung pushback rin mula sa taong bayan. Hindi lang simbahan sana. Kasi yun, I think we need that as well. Anyway, sorry. End of sermon. Ang dami nag-sermon tuloy ako. Pero ang ayokong gawing kontrabida yung mga mining. Kilala ko, may mga kaibigan ako sa mining din in fact, dun sa aming dialogue dito hindi naman kayo mga demonyo Di ba? Gusto nyo, I mean, they want also to, gusto rin umusad yung Pilipinas And we have all these resources, pero yun lang di ba? Sabi nga, may mga salbahe. May mga swapang.
I have, I think, okay na po ba yung mga questions dito? Yung sa mga, naman po, sa live stream po, we'll take in just two actually. We have a live stream on Facebook. So, one is, are we capable of using these REEs? Is the Philippines ready? And then the second person asking the question is, how is the Philippines faring in terms of REE research compared to other countries in Southeast Asia, for example?
One at a time. Question number one.
Question number one.
So number one po is, are we capable of using these REEs? Is the Philippines ready?
Actually, one is that we don't have a resource for REs. If we have, it will be very small, and it is just a value adding to what we export as raw material. Using REs are more likely, we don't have that capacity yet. Kasi yung mga cellphones naman natin are galing naman somewhere else, di ba? Hindi naman na-process dito sa Pilipinas yan So lahat ng inputs in making cell phones, turbines, electric vehicles are all imported. So I think we don't have the capacity yet to process REEs or use them in manufacturing. We rely much on other countries for that. The resource itself is not sufficient, although I would suggest that as this is an initial study, I would also encourage other people to look into this for further research work. The UST is actually open to this because I've been in contact with them and they wanted to continue what I have started. Sabi ko, baka wala na akong energy, wala na akong power to pursue a research project. Although I would ask people here, maybe if you're interested, to the UST as a funder for this. The other question is.
The second question is, how is the Philippines faring in terms of REE research compared to other countries?
That's the answer which my answer would be that one I mentioned earlier. We need more research work on REEs. Dealing with scandium, which I mentioned a while ago among laterites, maybe we have a lot of research work done kasi ang dami nating laterite mines dito sa Pilipinas Pero ang problem lang is that copper gold mines, wala tayong studies made. Kasi kapag meron kang gold, gold is gold. Benta mo na. Wala ka nang pakialam kung anong laman yan. Basta gold is gold, copper is copper, and so on. So as I mentioned also a while ago, if we have an inventory of these rare earth elements and trace elements associated with it, I think we can add value on what we sell as a raw material.
Sir, last follow-up ko lang sa kanya. Anong Southeast Asian country or Asian country bang medyo advanced sa REE research? Would you know? Yung Vietnam ba? Yung
Vietnam has a resource, but they don't process it. Kaya if you look into the trade wars between the United States and other countries, saan bumibili ngayon ng US? Balak nilang bumili ng REEs. Sa Vietnam. Kasi mas mura daw yan. Although, I think they have a no agreement yet for that. There are other countries that provide REE as a resource. Pero siyempre, ibibigay mo ba? Kung gusto mong itago yan as a weapon, itago mo na lang. As an economic weapon. Kasi kailangan ng, for example, I would use US as an example. Kailangan din ng US for all their technologies. Kung gagawa sila ng missile-guided something for wars, kailangan pa rin nila ng REEs. For energy, kailangan pa rin nila ng REEs. Although yung smartphone nila, magagaling na sa China. Kasi nandun naman talaga yung REEs and actually they don't process it sa US.
Randall, take the floor.
So thank you everyone for your very enthusiastic questions, very engaging questions. So to express our gratitude to our speaker, may we call on Father Jet and Doc Joel for to present the certificate and token of appreciation to Dr. Rene Claveria.
By the way, yan, ipamimigay ko na yan. Kung gusto niyo magkaroon ng kopya, tanungin niyo lang kay Randall. PowerPoint.
Yan po. So I will read the certificate. So certificate of appreciation. This is presented to Rene Juna R. Claveria, PhD, for his insightful and invaluable contribution as resource speaker at the Manila Observatory's 160th anniversary lecture series entitled Ambag, Agham sa Banig, Conversations on Science, Service, and Society, given this 20th day of June 2025 at the Manila Observatory, Ateneo de Manila University Campus, Loyola Heights, Quezon City. Signed by our Executive Director, Jose Ramon T. Villarin, SJ. So to close the day, we may call on Father Jet to have some message.
Sige. The Lord be with you. May Almighty God bless you. Maraming salamat, Rene, muli, on behalf of the observatory. Again, very refreshing. I'm excited when I learn new things. I hope, are you? Di ba? I don't know, there's something fulfilling. Marami akong natutunan. Pero may tanong pala ako, isa pa. Isa pa akong tanong. Alam nyo, mahilig ako sa magnet eh. Ewan ko bakit, I'm fascinated with magnets. And if you go to I think it's still there yung kay Patrick Echeverria na I was a thesis advisor of Patrick when he was doing the vertical turbine. Kasi yung turbine usually pag ganun, di ba? Yung electric. Ito, pag ganun. And we had to build the motor. Wow, I mean, we had to build the generator. And sabi niya, Father, kailangan natin ng neodymium magnet. Di ba? Yung mga maliliit. Malalakas yun eh. Liit lang siya, pero ang lakas. And I have a number of those, minsan ginagamit nila sa, di ba, yung name tag. Ewan ko lang kung naapektahan yung puso mo pag But then, I have all these things, and then, iniisip ko, tatapon ko ba? Kasi parang, ano ba siya? Is it rare? Kasi, di ba, ang dami magnet eh. Yung sa bulletin board, di ba? Minsan, tinatapon lang ng mga, kailangan ba namin itago yan? O ano? Ano ba? Itago? Tanggalin yung neodymium. Tanggalin yung neodymium. Kasi mahalaga yon. Okay. Ang alam ko lang sa neodymium dun sa laser eh. Di ba? Yung neodymium YAG laser. But anyway, I just wanted to say, isang take-away ko mahalaga yung knowledge. Mahalagang may alam tayo. Lalo na sinabi mo yung value added. Hindi natin alam eh. Bigay tayo ng bigay ng lupa, ng buhangin. May mga tao, alam nila yung tunay na halaga. Tayo, di natin alam. So nagugoyo tayo eh. Dahil wala tayong alam. Diba? Marami silang alam eh. Tayo hindi. Inosente. Well, also to some extent because I guess we don't want or care to know. Mahalaga yun. Kahit yung mga, hindi lang naman mining kahit na yung mga sa agriculture. Diba yung bioresources, the genes, the banks, all these things, hindi natin alam. At alam natin na maraming mas may alam sa atin. At tuso sila, pinagsasamantalahan tayo. Dahil wala naman tayong alam. So, dapat makialam at magkaroon ng kaalaman. Diba? That's so important, I think. When I look at our human resources as a country, I hope that you will be inspired to work harder. Kasi nga, yung state of science, sa totoo lang. Di ba? Alam naman natin to, mga nagtuturo sa kolehiyo eh, yung level ng mathematics at agham, hindi na tulad nung dati. Diba? Ano nangyari? Paano tayo nabobo? Di ba? Ano nangyari? Ito yung mga nag-aaral Hindi natin sinasabi pa yung mga out of school. Ito yung mga tenista na. Mga UP, Lasal. Diba? Yung level nila ganito. Paano pa kaya sa labas? Kaya mahalaga. Sana lang, yung edukasyon, science education. Kaya natin yun eh. Alam mo, kasi tingin ko, we have the raw material. Ito. The Filipino mind is wise, is intelligent. You know how I know? Our humor. Our humor. Iba tayo eh, di ba? Yung mga memes natin, hindi mo makikita yan sa ibang bansa. Pero hindi lang yun. I know we have the raw material. And I don't know if I've shared this with you, but once I was in Palanan, isolated area, Isabela. At that time, I had to ride a small Cessna plane, one-prop plane, it's very isolated. It's where Aguinaldo surrendered to the Americans. Perfect hiding place. Wala pang cellphone noon at lahat. I would go to the school and I would talk to the children. The children knew 5 languages. 5. English, Tagalog, Ilocano, Ibanag, and Paranan. Bata ka, how can you know 5? Diba? That's raw. That's raw talent. Hindi pa yan na-process. Hindi pa yan na-mina. Diba? Raw pa lang yan. Mga Pinoy to. Isolated, ha? Isolated. Walang masyadong influence. Alam mo ang vision nila? Makapunta sa kawayan. Maging OFW sa Ilagan, Isabela. To go to the big city. What was the big city? Not even Manila. Ilagan. Makatawid dun sa bundok to escape their poverty. Imagine, yun ang ambisyon nila. Maging OFW. 5 lengguwahe alam. Sabi ko, ay matalino ang Pinoy. Matalino siya. So bakit ganito tayo ngayon? Tingin ko, governance. Pasensya na, balik ako nun eh. Leadership. Yung mga binoboto natin, madali tayong madala. Diba? Di mo rin masisisi kasi gutom eh. Diba? So, pero yun. I think our human capital needs to be harnessed. Second, sorry na-inspire na rin ako eh. So, sa iyong talk kasi. Yeah. We are a climate observatory, and so it's breath of fresh air in a way, that you are talking about the earth. Kasi I'm an airhead. You rock, I guess. Okay. And I guess, ba't mo ako binibideo? Joel? Anyway, Joel here is another stonehead. Sorry, rockhead. And we're glad that, kasi Father Sue, of happy memory, Father Sue, Sergio Sue, Yero.